So tonight I watched a Michelangelo Antonioni film. I'm about halfway done with his filmography, and there's several of his films that are about to expire off of Filmstruck. So in true Mariah fashion, I'm watching them right before they expire. Um, this one I watched tonight was actually his feature film debut. In English, it's called Story of a Love Affair. In Italian, it's Cronaca di un amore. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Um, but anyways, it stars Massimo Girotti. My Italian sounds French. I'm sorry. Massimo Girotti and Lucia Bosè. I don't know how the E. So the E with the French going that way, I know how to pronounce the E in Italian going that way. I have no idea. That is neither here nor there. I'm just going to say Lucia Bosè. That's close enough. This had a screenplay by Michelangelo Antonioni and several other screenwriters, and was quasi-inspired by James M. Cain's The Postman Always Rings Twice. Now, obviously, 7 years earlier, Postman Always Rings Twice was adapted in Italy under the title Assuncione, and that was a very faithful adaptation. This is more like inspired by, because it's not an adaptation in any way, shape, or form. There's just similar themes and similar actions in that a couple having an affair at one point plot to kill her husband. That's not the main plot, though. Or is it? There's like 5 plots in this film. The main thing to know is that Lucia plays a woman who is at this point a trophy wife to a very rich industrialist. He has decided that he needs to know more about his wife, even though they've been married for 7 years, because they got married during the war, and it was a quick marriage, and now he's found some photos, and he's like, obviously someone I've only known for 2 months before I married them, I should know about their past. So it took him 7 years to figure that out, so he's not the brightest bulb. Good in business, not great in his personal life. So he sends a private investigator to go look into her life. He starts poking around. He finds that that in her past there was an accident, and that another woman was involved, and this man, and there was a third woman, and she warns the man, and so the man comes back into her life, unbeknownst to both the husband and the private investigator. Shenanigans ensue. So then there's like themes about lovers reconnecting, about marriages falling apart. There's some fun stuff with the investigator who just really wants to watch soccer. A great conversation with a police officer that can't do anything because the police in mid-century Italy are useless, apparently. There's no money for anything. So there's a lot to say about class and obviously business, and there's aspects of the film that feel like the neorealism roots that he's coming out of, but there's much more of the sort of upper crust sort of poetic introspection that comes in his later films, and it's sort of a combo between the two. So there's bits that are rough, but there's some beauty in there that you'll see, especially with camera placements in his later films, and there's themes that definitely he expands upon in his later films. This film is very, very talky, and it does have 6 screenwriters, so, there's a lot of dialogue, and a lot of that gets pared down in your later Antonioni films. So it's interesting to see sort of where filmmakers started, especially when you've seen one of their later films. Like if you watched Grand Budapest Hotel and then went and saw Bottle Rocket, you're like, wait, what? It's kind of like that. Yes, I did just compare Antonioni to Wes Anderson. I'm using that in a way of saying that basically there's facets of what Anderson became as a filmmaker in Bottle Rocket, but it's a very different film from what we're used to from him as a filmmaker. The same goes for Story of a Love Affair. There are facets of what we think of when we think of an Antonioni film in this film, but it's not there yet, and it's a very different film than what you would expect if you'd seen later Antonioni, 60s Antonioni. It's a great film, though. I really enjoyed it. This print was from Kino, and you can watch it on Filmstruck. I'm assuming that it's probably on DVD from Kino as well, Kino Lorber. Lorber? I always say that wrong. This is from 1950, and it's Michelangelo Antonioni's Story of a Love Affair. Kind of noir, kind of existential, definitely a romance, definitely an interesting film for those who love Italian cinema and or Antonioni in general.